بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم من نفخي ونفسي وحمزي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي آمين يا رب العالمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to our third session of Gems of Guidance, which are the lessons from the daily life from Quran and Sunnah. Today we will be covering some very interesting ayats that have always mesmerized me and always taken me by surprise whenever I recite the Quran. And so I wanted to share those ayats with you. We are taking a different angle today from the previous two classes. It's more about tarbiyah and try to learn that how we can learn the rules of argument or debate from these ayats. But these ayats really mesmerize me in the sense that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has captured a dialogue, literally a dialogue like a script in the Quran. And of course, anything that is in the Quran is important and has a lesson behind it. Nothing is there which is for no reason and no purpose. So let us take these beautiful ayats. The title of our talk today is A Debate with a Tyrant. So as the poster also shows, and as it might seem from the title, that it is a debate that took place between Musa A.S and Firaun. Quran has a lot of incidents and stories about Musa and Firaun, and there are different conversations that they have throughout the Quran. But in this particular area, there are at least around, if I'm not wrong, 30 ayats, which are just a dialogue between the two people. Okay, right? And these ayats are in Surah Shu'ara. And in the first ruku, I think, in the first or second ruku of this surah, ayat number 16 to 36 is what I'll be covering. Although this discussion proceeds beyond ayat 36 and it goes up to ayat number 42, 43 at least. I mean, that's what I remember. But I will be covering the crux of this discussion today and how you can also face these challenges when you're having an important discussion with somebody who is not convinced about what you're telling them, or who are in a power of authority and they are trying to subdue you in some way in the discussion. So we will learn that how Musa A.S, Allah taught him to be more focused and to be more, connected with the topic of his discussion so that he is not diverted. Right? So Surah Shu'ara, ayat 1636, if you have your phone, you can open this in your Quran as well. You can take it with me because I'll go ayah by ayah and try to learn the lessons from this. Surah Shu'ara, ayat 16 to 36. First, we have to understand the background of this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Shu'ara in ayat number 16, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Fatina Fir'auna faqula inna rasulu rabbil alameen. And he says, An ursil ma'ana bani Israel, An arsil ma'ana bani Israel. So what he is saying is that after giving Musa the prophethood, he tells Musa that go Musa to the Fir'aun and tell him that I am a messenger of the Lord of the worlds, Rabbul Alameen. And at the same time he tells him that, send with us the children of Israel. The children of Israel were enslaved by Fir'aun, we know that. For many, many years they were enslaved by the Fir'aun. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this command to Musa a.s. that go to Fir'aun and tell him that you are the messenger of Allah, you are the messenger of Lord of the worlds, and that you want him to send the children of Israel with you. Now these were the two discussion topics. These were the two main focal points that Musa a.s. had to take to Fir'aun. Two simple requests. Number one, demand that you accept me as the messenger of Lord of the worlds. And number two, you agree to send my people, the children of Israel, with me and bring them out of slavery. But we will see that how Fir'aun sends distractions after distractions towards Musa a.s. and how he tries to turn him away from this main focus, from this main discussion point, right? So let us take this. So first we have to understand that it is a debate and a court and a king who is very powerful, a king who is very, very ruthless and who is known for killing people and can kill somebody very instantly. And at the same time, his court is very grand. And he has his ministers and his army commanders and all his people around him. So it's a big pomp and show. And there Musa and Harun alayhi salatu salam, they enter into his court from the desert, from the mountain, with shabby clothes or with their hair filled with dust and dirt. And they enter to the person who is one of the most ruthless of the people known in the history of mankind. Right? So we have to understand this scene, how it is when they enter into the court of Firaun. and now what they are dealing with as well. And remember this from the previous ayats in Surah Shura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, or in Surah Taha, or in Surah Qasas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Musa alayhi salam had a guilt over himself that he had killed a person accidentally. And that is why he ran away from Egypt and he went to Madian and lived there for 10 years. Right? And now he is coming back after 10 years. And where did Musa alayhi salam grew up as a child? In the court of Firaun, right? So the Firaun's court, he grew up, in the house of Firaun he grew up, and then he killed a person accidentally, he ran away to Madian, and then now he's coming back when Allah has given him the prophethood. So we have to understand this context, that Musa has this fear in his heart as well, that this person can arrest me or can kill me because I had killed a person. And similarly, this is the king who can do anything. And this is a king who says, I am the God. Because when he says in Surah Naziyat, he says, فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, that I am the highest Lord. So I'm going in front of that person. So imagine that situation, that scene in your mind, that how his heart might be pounding, how he might be scared, or there will be fear over him as well. But Allah has commanded him to go and has told him that I am with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him in Surah Taha, in Surah Shura also, that do not worry, I am with both of you. Just go. So we have to also believe in our lives that when we are facing a difficult situation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us all the time. We can't see him, but certainly we can feel his support. And so he is always with us and he's always supporting us. But we have to take that action of going into that court or to going into that difficult situation if we want a solution out of it. We cannot just say that I'll sit here and Ya Allah, please help me out, and you can deal with this and you can maybe kill that person for me or something. But it doesn't work like that. You have to go into that difficult situation. You have to go into that exam. You have to go into that situation where you have to face somebody who is a difficult personality for you to face. So similar was the case with Musa alayhi salam as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, I'm with you, but you have to go and talk to him. Right? You have to go and talk to him and make these two demands to him. I am the messenger of Rabbul Alameen, and send with me the people of Israel. Now, when he goes and makes this demand or request to Firaun, what should be the reply of Firaun? What should be the reply of first person? They should try to talk to him about it. Why should I send the people with you? Or, they have been there with me for a long time, and, all these kind of things. But instead, he takes out something very different. And what is that first distraction that he throws at him? Or the distractions that come towards us also, or maybe when we are arguing, we throw towards people, is the emotional manipulation. What is the emotional manipulation? He says to Musa, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, قال ألم نربك فينا وليدا ولبثت فينا من عمرك سنين. Did we not bring you up, raise you up as a child within our palace, and now you remain with us for years of your life? So he is telling him what good I did with you. You come here after 10 years, walking in my court and telling me, send with me the children of Israel. There is no thank you, there is no gratefulness. We brought you up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word here, nurabbika. Rabbik means Rabb, and Rabb is somebody who nourishes you, who brings you up, like parents. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word Rabb in Surah Isra for parents as well, where he says, Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. So the Rabb word is used for the person who nourishes you, brings you up, spends on you, invests on you, cares for you. So Firaun is saying that my household was like a Rabb for you, which nourished you. And you come here now demanding this to me. So this is an emotional manipulation as well. People say to us as well, don't you remember what I did for you? Don't you remember the favor that I did for you? How I took care of you? How I gave you the money? How I gave you this help or support? And now you are coming here and making this request to me? You're coming here and discussing this with me? You're coming here and arguing with me? That doesn't make any sense. So, but at this point, a person can be emotionally manipulated and say, yes, you're right, I'm sorry, and thank you so much, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come here like this. But Musa a.s. had a focus, had an objective that he had to focus on. And what was that objective? That I am the messenger of Allah, that I told you in the background, the previous ayahs of Surah Shura, and that send with me the people of Bani Israel. So when he sees, the Firaun sees that this emotional manipulation is not working, and this guy is not getting, affected by it, he throws the second distraction, which is making him feel guilty, or playing a good cop. What is a good cop? I'm still merciful towards you. I'm the good person. How? Because he reminds him, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Do you remember you did that thing that you did, O Musa alayhi salam? So he is not naming the thing that he did. And we all know from the Quran that he killed a person. So Allah said in Surah Qasas, Allah said elsewhere in the Quran that he killed a person. But here the killing word is not used. The word is, you did something that you did. You remember what you did? So now when a group of people are sitting and I talk to you and I say, you remember what you did? I remember what you did. That day, 3 days ago, you remember what you did? Now everybody is thinking, what is he talking about? Maybe. But the person I'm talking to you is scared, has this fear in his heart. Oh, he's mentioning that big thing that I did, and he knows about it, and he can punish me for it. So it's another psychological manipulation. He's not answering him back about, you're not the messenger of God, or that I'm not going to send people with you, the children of Israel. He's throwing towards him emotional and guilty attacks again and again. So he's telling them that you did something that you did. Do you remember that? And how merciful am I? The Firaun is saying from this, what we understand, that how merciful am I that I'm not even telling it to anybody. I'm not even punishing you for it. I'm not even taking an action for it. And I'm giving you a chance and an opportunity to escape out of it. And yet you will come here and you talk to me about this. So another manipulation that comes to us is making you feel guilty, because everybody knows about our history. So that is why people look at the righteous people and they say, you were singing songs like just 1 year ago, and now you're a Maulvi, for example, right? And you were into music and all these things, now you're a righteous person. So you're such a righteous person that you are the messenger of God while you had killed a person, So you're reminding him of the guilty feelings. And the person will have these doubts, oh, I used to sin, or I used to be the wrong person. How can I be then talking about these good things and a good message? And the person would mellow down. So, but Musa A.S. did not mellow down. He was tough in his stand, and he stood back. Now the response comes from Musa A.S. After these two sentences from Firaun, Musa A.S. gives a response. And what is that response? The first thing that he says to him is, he says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قال فعلتها إذا وأنا من الضالين. Yes, I did that, what you said. I did that. He did not mention the word qatal as well. He said, I did that, what you're saying I did, and I was of the lost, or I was of those who were astray. So he's not mentioning his action, because the first thing, if somebody would attack you with a guilty feeling that you did something that I know you did, the person on the other end might say, oh yes, I killed the person, I'm sorry. So everybody would know, oh, he killed the person, right? Or I did that, I'm sorry. He did not mention it. So do not mention your weakness in front of somebody who's trying to take out your weakness from you, just so that you could be weak in your position. So he said, yes, I did that. And again, he's accepting the responsibility. He's not blaming somebody else, that he made me do it, Shaitan made me do it. Although if you go to Surah Qasas, there Musa A.S. said, Ya Allah, Shaitan made me do it. But Ya Allah, forgive me. So yes, Shaitan makes you do it, but you cannot blame everything that we do in our lives on Shaitan. And think that Shaitan is to be blamed for it. It is our responsibility also. So Musa A.S. takes the responsibility. The second sentence that Musa A.S. says to him is, فَفَرَرْتُ مِنْكُمْ لَمَّا خِفْتُكُمْ فَوَحَبَ لِي رَبِّي حُكْمًا وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. So I ran away from you, I fled from you because I feared you, I was scared of you. But then my God, my Lord, Allah granted me judgment, wisdom and prophethood, and appointed me as one of the messengers. We learned the value of knowledge. When a person has no knowledge or wisdom, the person is scared of everybody. The person is dependent on anybody. But when you have knowledge and wisdom, because that is what prophethood is, that you have knowledge and wisdom. That is what the prophets are known for. And the real knowledge is the knowledge of the deen of Allah. When you have that knowledge, you're not scared of anybody else. You're not scared of them. So that is what Musa A.S. is also telling Firaun. I was scared of you then. I was scared of you then, but I'm not scared of you now. And Allah gave me the wisdom and the prophethood, so I'm coming back to you. I have the knowledge that I need to fight you or to argue with you. Then the third thing that he says is, وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمَنُّهَا عَلَيَّ أَنْ عَبَدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And is this the favor you remind me of while you have enslaved the people of children of Israel? So what we learn from this is that a small favor that I'm mentioning to you cannot undo the big evil that I'm doing. So another thing is that he told him about a small favor, that I took care of you, that I brought you up as a child, and I take care of you. That was also accidental, if you know the story. Musa's mother threw him into the river, and the child came towards Firaun's palace, and the wife picked him up and said to her husband, do not kill him, and all that. So you took care of me, fine, but you are enslaving thousands and thousands of my people. That big sin that you're doing, that great big bad thing that you're doing cannot, just wipe away through that small one good thing that you did. So see how he's giving an argument. He's not getting influenced by his favors. He's saying, all right, you did that for me, but look at the bad that you're doing. Such a huge number of people that you're holding enslaved with you, right? So another way of responding is that number one, accepting your mistake. Yes, I did what I did. Number two, I'm not scared of you. I have the knowledge. Allah has given me the wisdom and the prophethood. And number three, your small good thing cannot wipe away your bad thing. So it is better that you wipe away the evil rather than doing that small good. And that is what we learn in the Rasul as well, that it is better that you don't do that small good, rather remove that big evil which is in your way. So he's reminding Firaun now of the big evil that you're doing. So what if you take care of one child? You have killed thousands of child at that time, babies, and I was one of those babies, and you enslaved so many people today. So how can that take away? And this is what we see happens when you're talking to anybody of authority, any person of authority. They'll try to tell you what good I've done for you, what favors I've done for you, that small thing that I did, that small thing that I did. But we tell the people that you forget the big evils that you're doing. And that is with the leaders and the politicians or the social people or whatever that when we are dealing with, or even it might be any person of authority that you're talking to who does not want to believe what you're saying is right and who has problem with what you're saying, right? So Musa A.S gave him this response. Now when Firaun saw that this is not working out, so he turned to another distraction, and that is what? Arrogance and challenging his knowledge. Takabbur, arrogance. So he says, okay, fine, what you're talking about. Now he comes to one of the points, and he says, who is this Rabbul Alameen? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Qala Firaun, wama Rabbul Alameen? Who is this Rabbul Alameen? So he talks in a very derogatory way about the God of Musa A.S. And anybody who's standing in front right now could get emotional. Oh, how dare you talk about Allah like that? Who is Rabbul Alameen? So he says, and what is this Lord of the worlds? I mean, who is this Lord of the worlds? I am the Lord. Right? While Firaun, we know from the Quran, knew in his heart that what Musa A.S. is saying is truth. But he wanted to play along with all the people who are watching in the court, all the people who are standing there, all the people who are watching him. So he wanted to play with them. And he did not want to give up. So he said, who is this Rabbul Alameen, Ya Musa? What is so good about him? So Musa A.S. responds, قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِن كُنْتُم مُوقِنِينَ. The Lord of the heavens and the earth, from the top to the down, and everything in between them. You, your children, everything, your wealth, your property, He is the Lord of all that. In kuntum muqinin, if you would be ready to be convinced or believe. I have a lot of evidence if you would be convinced. Now all the people in the court are staring at Musa. What is this guy talking about with who? With Firaun, who could just chop off his neck anytime. But Firaun also wants to win this argument before killing Musa, if he wants to kill him. He cannot just kill him like that, because then the argument would be left incomplete. And if the argument is left incomplete, then the people who are standing there would want to find out what Musa was talking about. So he wants to defeat him in the argument before he can punish him. Right? So he says, قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِن كُنتُم مُوقِنِينَ. Simple answer. Nothing else. I don't care how you ask me this question, Firaun. I'm going to give you a straight answer. Firaun sees this doesn't work with him. So he sends another distraction. What is that? People show amazement, or they try to include people around them. Now, right now the dialogue was between Musa and Firaun. There was nobody else involved in it. But now Firaun involves others. Right? It is just like when you are scolding your son and you tell his mother, are you listening to him what he's saying? So you include the mother with him, right? Because you know the child has a point, you cannot win the argument with them. So the other distraction that Firaun sends is, قَالَ لِمَنْ حَوْلَهُ أَلَا تَسْتَمِعُونَ. He looked around himself and he says, do you not hear what he is saying? Does he make sense to you? Right? So now people are confused. What should we answer Firaun? What should we look at Musa? Musa makes a point. He is saying, do you not hear him? So he is amazed. And amazement is all another distraction. Oh, acha, very nice, shabash. Okay, it's like that. Okay, so this is an amazement that people show in argument in order to bring you down, because they're not serious about it. So he looks at everybody else and he says, do you see what he is talking about? I mean, what is he talking about? It doesn't make any sense what he is saying. What should Musa reply at this time? And Musa should look at the other people and say, aren't you convinced of what I'm saying? Or he should say to Firaun, what do you mean? I'm talking to you right now. He sticks to his point. He's in the previous ayah, he said, قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Now he says, قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَرَبُّ آبَائِكُمُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Your God and the God of all your fathers. And because the Fir'auns were very proud of their fathers, of their ancestry, so he talked about him and their fathers. Now he's enraging him. He's getting angry. And he's telling him that not only your God, but God of all your forefathers, O Firaun. So all that is in the front and all that is in the back. So first it was samawati wal ard, the top and the down. Now it is the front and the back. Everybody in this, he is the God of that. He is not replying to his tactics. He is not looking at people around him. Firaun looked at the people around him and he said, don't you see what he's saying? Musa alayhi salam did not look. He looked straight at the Firaun and he said, قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَرَبُّ أَبَائِكُمُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Now Firaun says, this is not working out. So again he throws another distraction. Now see, Firaun is not talking about the Rabb. He's not talking about the God. He's not talking about the Bani Israel. He's now sending another distraction. What does he say? Anger and humiliation. Now he's getting angry. So he tries to humiliate Musa alayhi salam. This is what happens with us as well. Number one, emotional manipulation. Number two, making you feel guilty because everybody knows your secrets in the closet. Number three, that we looked at, making you feel guilty, and after that, number three was that you show amazement in people, you include others, and now he's showing anger and humiliation. So what does he say? He says that I cannot win this argument. So what should I do? What do we tell a child or somebody who's standing in front of us? If you don't be quiet, I'm going to slap you. I'm going to punish you. You'll not get the food. You'll not do this. And that is exactly what he says. He says, قَالَ إِنَّ رَسُولُكُمُ الَّذِي No. He says, قَالَ إِنَّ رَسُولُكُمُ الَّذِي أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْكُمْ لَمَجْنُونَ. The first he calls him a majnoon, a person who is mad. So he humiliates him. He humiliates him. Now, he had not called him a title until now to Musa alayhi salam. He gives him the first title after he says that the emotional manipulation is not happening, after he sees that he is not he's not getting affected by my anger, he's not getting affected by the favors I'm mentioning, he's not getting affected by my questions. So he says that this person who has been sent to you, he looks at all the people around him and he says, this person you see around you, all of you who are standing around me, do you see this person? He is actually mad. He is Majnoon. And all the prophets of Allah were called Majnoon. The Prophet ﷺ was also called Majnoon, as he said in the Quran, and the Sahir, and the Kahin. So he was called a Majnoon, that he is mad. Now what should be the reply of Musa at this time? I'm not Majnoon, you are Majnoon. You cannot even understand a simple thing I'm telling you right now. So if somebody can reply that, how dare you call me a Majnoon? I'm not mad. But what would be his reply? First he said, Rabbu samawati wal ard. Then he said, Rabbukum wa Rabba abaikum. And now what he says? قال رب المشارق والمغارب وما بينهما إن كنتم تعقلون. The Lord of the East and the West. So now he covered this up and the down, the front and the back, the East and the West. And he said he's the Lord of the whole 360 around you, Mr. Firaun. So he's not getting affected by whether you call me madman, whether you call me emotional distress, whether you throw attacks at me, whether you play with my emotions or my anger or anything. I'm not going to get affected by it because I'm going to stick to my point. So he says, Rabbul Mashariqi wal Maghrib, Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghribi, wa ma baynahuma in kuntum ta'qilun. In kuntum ta'qilun, what does that mean? If you were to reason, if you were to have your mind, ta'qilun means from aql, that if you have your mind present, right? If you listen to the ulama, they say, actually, Firaun called him madman. Musa is also calling him a madman, but in a nicer way, because it does not suit a person of intellect to call somebody Majnoon or Pagal or madman, because that's abusive, even to Firaun. So he called him the same thing that he called him, but in an intellectual way. He said, he is the Lord of the East and the West, if only you could reason or use your aql. So if you don't believe in this, you're not using your aql, that makes you a madman. I'm not the madman, you're the madman. So you see what he is doing? How he is attacking Firaun through his argument or through his discussion while keeping his calm and his composure also at the same time. So he is calling him the madman now rather than taking the sentence from him. And he's saying, you're calling me a madman because you're just angry. I'm calling you that you don't have aql because I have all the logic and the evidence. Can you bring in evidence? So now when Musa has covered the front and the back, the top and the bottom and the right and the left, and Firaun has, has called him a Majnoon and has attacked him all the way, then comes the point that I said, threat and warning, that I'll slap you, that I'll punish you, that I'll do this to you, be quiet, don't speak, right? And this is the thing that comes. Distraction number 6. Allah Ta'ala has structured this argument in this way in the Quran. If you do the tadabbur, He says, قَالَ لَإِنْ أَخَذْتَ إِلَهًا غَيْرَ أَجْعَلَنَّكَ مِنَ الْمَسْجُونِينَ. If you take a God other than me, I will imprison you. Now you be quiet, Musa. If you talk more, I'll throw you into the prison. So that's the best he can do, because he is the king, he can throw you into the prison, right? And now what should be the reply of Musa? Because now if you enrage this person further, he will throw you into the prison and kill you. But Musa does not want that. So now he takes out the evidence and he says, and he raises his interest. And what does he say to him? He says to him, قَالَ أَوَلَوْ جِئْنَكَ قَالَ أَوَلَوْ جِئْتُكَ بِشَيْءٍ مُبِينٍ. That even if I bring you a clear sign, even if I bring you a clear sign, so now Firaun is kind of taken back. What clear sign are you talking about, right? What evidence? And because now people are listening. So if I kill Musa right now, if I throw him into the prison right now, what about that sign he talked about? So everybody would be interested in that, right? Firaun does not want that people around him are interested in Musa A.S. So he says, even if I bring you something that is a proof, that is an evidence, that is a manifest evidence for you. And then Firaun says what? Firaun says, قَالَ فَأْتِ بِهِ إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Bring your evidence if you're truthful. Bring your evidence if you're truthful. So in the next two ayats, which I don't cover here, Musa A.S. shows him his two miracles. Number one, he puts his hand into his shoulder, into his armpit, he takes it out, it is white. Then he throws his staff on the ground, it becomes a snake. And when Firaun sees this, now Firaun has no argument. What should I do with this person now? What should I do with this person now? What will a person do in this case when you're losing an argument? When you have threatened a person, when you have abused them, when you have called them names, when you have become angry with them, you have emotionally manipulated them, you have shown your favors to them, you have shown them that you have tried to raise the guilty feeling in them. Everything did not work out. And now this snake is on the ground and this guy is taking out a white shining hand. What should I do? So what does Firaun do? He creates a false narrative. A false narrative is what? It is what is sold to the people so that people can believe you, right? This is what we hear in our news today, in our social media today, all the narratives that you listen. So what does he think? He says, now I need to influence the people around me. And he says what? He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقال للملأ حوله إن هذا لساحر عليم. He says to all the ministers standing around him, this guy, he is a magician. First he called him a majnoon, now he calls him a sahir. He is a magician. And because they were scared of magicians in that time, and magic was something which was considered a very powerful tool for them, so he used that tool. Like today we use the tool of, terrorism or anything else, or anything that you want to use in order to scare the people. So he said, the sahirun alim. He is a magician. He is a magician. And then the second sentence he says is, يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم بسحره فماذا تأمرون. You know what he wants to do? And Musa A.S. did not say this anywhere. But Firaun built this narrative and he says he wants you to be out of your land. He wants to take over your homes, over your wealth, over your gardens. He wants to bring you out of your comfortable life. He wants to hurt you through his magic. So now he is threatening the people who are around him, right? That if you don't do anything, he is a magician and he will kick you out of your place, your cities, your countries. So you have to stand with me. And that is why Allah says in the Quran that people knew the truth while they still followed the Firaun, and that is why he will lead them into the fire of hell, because knowingly they followed him because they got scared. So when the leader of the government is saying that this person is going to hurt you, this person is going to kick you out of your homes, so you have to help me out. And until now, Firaun did not involve anybody in his argument. Until now, he was just discussing it alone with him, with Musa A.S., right? Now, because he has no more answers, so what does he do? He throws the ball into the court of the other people, right? And that is what happens. When you are scolding your son or somebody and your wife is there and you said, look at your son, what is wrong with him, right? And if you don't control him, he's going to break your house. So you have scared the wife now. That if I don't control this guy, this son of mine, he's going to break my house. And number three, now you suggest what should we do? And exactly that's what Firaun says. He says, فَمَاذَا تَأْمُرُونَ. He says, so what do you advise? And they advise what? That give him some time. And exactly that is what the mother would say, or anybody else would be standing there, because suddenly you are taken by this thing that you're the audience. Now all of a sudden the leader is saying, you advise me, what should I do, right? Until now he was not asking them for advice, but suddenly he asked them for advice. What will the people say? Let's give him some time. Let's give him some time and we will try to prove that he is wrong. And that is exactly what they say. قَالُوا أَرْجِحْ وَخَاهُ وَبَعَثْ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ حَاشِرِينَ. Give him some time, to him and his brother. give some time to him and his brother, and we will collect magicians from the land, and we will prove that he is wrong. And then we know the story that is ahead in the surah, that they go ahead and they collect all the magicians from the land, and the magicians come, and Musa alayhi salam throws his staff, and it becomes a snake, and it eats up all the things that they created, and all the magicians accept Islam, and they become believing people, right? And they become believing people. And that story continues in this surah as well. But I don't continue it here. That is exactly what Musa alayhi salam wanted. What did he wanted? He wanted an audience with the people. Could he have spread this message while Firaun knew that he was doing this in the land? Firaun would have arrested him, would have thrown him into the jail. He could not have spread this message. He wanted an audience with the people. And that is exactly what was given to him, that we will collect the magicians from all the land, and then we will invite Musa, and we will prove Musa is wrong. And Musa alayhi salam chose the day. He said the day of the festival, when everybody would be collected. In front of them, I will show you my signs and my miracles. Right? And Firaun exactly did that. He fell into the trap of Musa and gave him the audience of the people, and gave him the audience of the nation and of the people, that they could see with their own eyes, that otherwise Musa was not able to do. So you see the structure of the debate that is there, that how he emotionally manipulated, Musa did not fall for it, how he warned him, how he threatened him, how he called him a madman, how he called him a magician, how he said that he is trying to take you out of your country, how he threatened him that I will throw you into the prison. But Musa alayhi salam stayed focused on his discussion, that I am the messenger of the Lord of the worlds, and that send with me the people of Bani Israel. And he stick to his point, and sticking to his point made him win the argument with the most tyrant of the person, with the most zalim of the people, who would kill anybody at that time, who had killed many people before as well. But he was not able to kill him because of the continuing argument that was going on between them, and he could not stop at that point. Right? And then the best end was, give him some time, send him away from the palace right now, we will deal with him later. And that is exactly what we do. And we try to seek advice from the others when we are losing that argument as well, right? So what do we learn from this? Some of the lessons that we learn from this whole argument, that we can take some actions with us if we want to really learn and apply this learning into our lives. So the first thing is, there are some points which are written here. Stay focused on the main purpose. Stay focused on the main purpose of your discussion and your argument. Do not be influenced by others. Do not be influenced by emotional attacks, or by threats, or by warnings, or by guilty things. And then do not be distracted by emotional and personal attacks. Stay focused towards the audience which matters. So Musa was only talking to Firaun. He was not talking to people around him. While Firaun was engaging people around him, while Musa was still talking to Firaun. And stick to the argument which matters to the audience. So Musa continuously talked about the points which would affect Firaun emotionally. So he was affected by that. How can there be an entity which is a God other than me, who is controlling everything around me, right? So he was taken by that. So Musa alayhi salam stick to that point, argument which matters to the audience. He knew his audience in front of him, and he had prepared accordingly. He was not just talking right, left, and center. He was talking to the point. Deal with the matter most controversial and troubling. Firaun talked about 3 things with Musa. Number 1, that we took care of you when you were a child. So you are the ungrateful one who is not even saying thank you to me. Number 2, we rose you up, or we did not hurt you, or anything that he talked about. Number 3, the important point, you did something that we know about. Now, out of these 2-3 things, which is the most controversial or the important thing that I need to address, is of course the deed that he is talking about, that you did, the deed that you did, which nobody else knows about maybe, and I know about that deed. So Musa first addressed that deed, so that your heart can feel easy. Otherwise, you will constantly have this fear in your mind that this guy knows about my weakness, which others don't know. So he put that point in front of him first. He did not mention, you brought me up or did you not bring me up, because nobody would care about that. He brought up the point that I did what you said I did, and I did it because I was astray, and now I'm guided because of the knowledge that Allah has given me. And he got done with that case, right? Do not spell out your action or secret yourself to give away your weakness. So that is what Firaun wanted to do when he said, you did what you did. Musa could have said, no, I did not kill that person, or I did kill that, or I killed that person accidentally. He did not say that. So do not detract from your discussion. Do not go away from the main point. Stay focused on that point, because it is not important whether what you did or you did not did. Attribute to and appreciate Allah for the good we have. So Musa alayhi salam attributed all good to Allah. He gave me the wisdom. He gave me the prophethood. He did not say, Allah made me kill somebody. Allah made me run away for 10 years to Madian and live a tough life in the desert. He said that Allah gave me the prophethood and wisdom. And that is how we should also talk about everything good. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam in Surah Yusuf also mentions that it was Allah who brought my brothers to me. He did not mention that it was Allah who put me into the jail. While it was Allah who mentions in the Quran that we did save him by putting him in the jail. But Yusuf alayhi salam does not mention that, because everything good is attributed to Allah, and everything that even does not seem right has goodness behind it when we talk about it. Importance of wisdom and knowledge, that is what Musa alayhi salam talked about. I feared you, Firaun, because I did not have knowledge or wisdom. Now when I have knowledge and wisdom, I do not fear you anymore, and that is why I'm standing in front of you. And downplay the favor through highlighting bigger matters. So if somebody throws favors at you, I gave you this money, I did this favor for you, I did that and this. So tell them there's so many other big things that they're doing which are wrong, right? So many other big things that you're doing is wrong. Just because you brought one glass of water for your father or your mother or your parent does not mean that it wipes away all the other wrong that you're doing with your elders or your parent, right? So accept your mistake and error. Do not blame others. So he did not blame anybody. He said, I did it. I did what you're mentioning, and now I'm over with that. The small good idea does not make the great evil small, and that I mentioned about. Counter the threat to raising interest and inquisitiveness. Yani, make them interested. If they're threatening you, make them interested in something. So he gave his evidence. He could have thrown his staff to make it a snake from the first sentence. Oh Musa, oh Firaun, I have something to show you. And throw the staff, it becomes a snake. But he had his whole of his argument, his discussion with him, and when the right point came, he took out the evidence that he had and threw the staff in front of him. When he had built his case, when he had defeated him in words, when he had defeated him in logic, only then he took out his evidence and he showed to him that this is what I can do. He did not do it initially. That is also something important for us to consider, why he did not do it initially. He could have done it initially. He did it later on when he threatened him. So we can counter threats through questions or through inquisitiveness. And that is what we can learn from these beautiful ayats of Surah Shu'ara. These ayats, ayat number 16 to ayat number 36 that I covered here. A full dialogue between the two individuals. One person is weak, the other person is powerful and strong. The other person is the king, has all the authority, while the other person has no authority at all. The other person is believing in Allah that I'm with you, He will not hurt you. The other person is just holding on to his false narrative and false belief, and it's just emotionally manipulating the person. And you can see that Musa alayhi salam did not give any emotional statement, did not told him about any favors that Musa alayhi salam might have done for him, or anything else. Right? He just stick to his point that I am here to discuss this thing with you, and that is what I'm going to discuss. So when we are in an argument, when we are in a discussion, when we are in a debate, we should not allow ourselves to be influenced by others, by their emotional distractions, by these 7 distractions that I've mentioned here, by their emotional distractions, by their angers, by their threats, by their making us feel guilty, by reminding us of things that we might have done wrong, and all these kind of things. We should stick to our point, and we should try to win the argument in a more logical way. And we should not let go of the etiquette of discussion as well. If he calls you Majnoon, then the Musa alayhi salam said, In kuntum taqilun, if you can only use your mind, right? So even that is important, the discipline of talking. And that is what we learn from these ayats as well. If you have any questions or if we can have any discussion, we can do that. Otherwise, I hope that this was beneficial for us and that we can all learn from this. And I myself can apply it first in my life. And Quran is a wonderful book from where you can see things and structures and arguments and debates which are there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put there. And we should always ask that why this debate or this argument, this dialogue is there. Because everything is there for a purpose. Everything there is for a meaning. And we should try to learn lessons from that and apply those lessons in our own personal life. So I end this here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair for joining. And if you have any questions or discussions, we can take that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.